You never imagine your wedding day being the one that makes you question who you've become. But when love asks you to leave someone behind, you better ask yourself what kind of love that really is. The morning of the wedding, I felt good. Nervous, sure, but good. The tux fit. The sun was out. The planner kept telling me everything was running like clockwork. My best man, Joe, was cracking jokes I only half heard as I checked the time for the 5th time in 10 minutes. I was excited to marry Vanessa. We'd been together for 3 years, and I thought we had the kind of love people hope to build later in life. We met after both coming out of long, broken relationships, mine a divorce, hers a string of half-hearted men who didn't know how to stay. We healed together, or so I thought. But this wasn't my first wedding. My first marriage ended quietly but painfully, no scandals, no screaming matches. Just two people who became strangers under the same roof. The one good thing that came out of it? My daughter, Lila. She was 15 now. Smart, sarcastic, quick with her wit and slow to trust. We'd built something solid over the years, movie nights, early morning pancakes, long drives where she'd plug in her music and let me into her world for a song or two. She was supposed to be sitting in the front row. Next to my brother. In the seat we left empty just for her. But when the music started and I turned around to take that walk toward the altar, I scanned the crowd and my stomach sank. She wasn't there. I blinked. Checked again. I spotted my ex-wife, Lila's mom, sitting a few rows back, trying not to meet my eyes. But no Lila. Not in the front. Not in the back. Nowhere. I tried to shake it off. Told myself maybe she was late. Maybe she'd come in after the procession. Maybe she didn't want to make a big entrance. She was shy about these things sometimes. But even as I stood there waiting for Vanessa to walk down the aisle, a knot twisted in my chest. Because Lila had wanted to come. She helped me pick out the cufflinks. Had asked what song Vanessa would walk to. She even told me she was, kind of excited, to see me all dressed up like a penguin. That was her word, penguin. She wasn't the kind of kid to bail without a word. Something was wrong. The ceremony went on. Vanessa looked beautiful. Smiled like she had the world in her hands. I said my vows. Tried to keep my voice steady. But in the back of my mind, one question looped again and again like static. Where's Lila? It wasn't until after the ceremony, when the photographer was wrangling family for group shots, that I finally asked my brother. Did you see Lila? He glanced at Vanessa, then back at me. Not here, man. What do you mean, not here? She was supposed to ride with Mom. He hesitated. Then said, carefully, you might want to talk to Rachel. My ex-wife. I found her by the drinks table, talking to one of her old college friends who'd somehow made the guest list. Where's Lila? I asked. Rachel looked tired. But not surprised. She set down her drink and said, she didn't come. She wasn't allowed to. I blinked. What? Ask your bride, she said. Or better yet, ask your daughter. She called her crying last night. That's when the bottom dropped out. Because in that moment, I knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a decision someone made behind my back. And I had just said, I do, to the person who made it. The reception moved forward like nothing had happened. The DJ played a mix of classic hits and newer tracks to please both sides of the family. Laughter floated in from the open bar. Kids ran around in dress shoes, dodging aunties with camera phones. Vanessa danced with her father. I smiled for pictures. But all I could think about was Lila's empty seat. I pulled my phone out between toasts. Stepped outside while people clinked glasses and made small talk about how perfect the day turned out. I dialed. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Still nothing. Finally, I sent a text. Lila. Where are you? I thought you were coming. Please call me. I stared at the screen. Waited. Hoped. Then, 5 minutes later, the phone lit up. Her name. I picked up before it could even finish buzzing. Lila. Her voice was quiet. Flat. Not angry, worse. Disappointed. You didn't know, she said. I sat down on the stone steps behind the venue. The music sounded far away now, like it belonged to someone else's life. What are you talking about? Know what? That I wasn't invited. My throat tightened. What do you mean you weren't invited? You had a seat. We talked about it. There was a pause. Then, she called me yesterday. Vanessa. She said it would be better for everyone if I didn't come. I blinked. She what? She said the vibe would be weird. That I'd make people uncomfortable. That your new family needed a clean start. Her voice cracked then. She told me I wasn't part of your new beginning. It felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. I didn't know, I said. Lila, I swear to you, I didn't know. She said you agreed. That it was what you wanted. No, I said. No, baby, I would never. She said it would make things easier. And I knew then, Vanessa hadn't just uninvited her. She had used my name to do it. I sat there in my wedding tux, the one Lila had teased me about, the one I thought she'd laugh at in the photos later, and I couldn't breathe. Lila, I said, I'm coming to see you tomorrow. First thing. I don't care what time. I'm showing up. She didn't respond right away. When she finally did, it was barely a whisper. You picked her. No, I said. I picked a future I thought included you. I didn't know she locked the door before you could walk in. And then the line went dead. She hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Just listened to the celebration happening inside, my celebration, while the most important person in my world sat at home, thinking I'd chosen someone else over her. The thought clawed at my chest. Because that's the kind of pain you don't get a second chance to undo. I walked back inside. Vanessa was laughing with her bridesmaids, drink in hand, her cheeks flushed from champagne and the high of attention. She turned and smiled when she saw me. I smiled back. But it wasn't real. Because in that moment, I wasn't her husband. I was a father trying to understand how the woman I married could look my daughter in the eye and make her believe she didn't belong. And worse, how she could make me part of the lie. The moment I stepped back into that reception hall, I knew something fundamental had shifted. It wasn't visible to anyone else. The music still played. The cake was still standing tall on its platform. Vanessa was still smiling at every guest like she'd waited her whole life to be admired in a white dress. But me? I felt like a stranger at my own wedding. I made it through the first dance. A slow, elegant sway to some romantic acoustic song we picked together months ago. I had my hands on her waist, but my thoughts were miles away, sitting in a bedroom with posters on the wall, where a 15-year-old girl cried alone because her dad didn't show up to protect her. After the dance, I leaned in close and asked Vanessa if we could talk. Just a moment. Somewhere private. She looked up, surprised. Now? Yes, I said, quietly but firmly. We stepped outside, around the corner of the venue where no one could overhear us. The fairy lights cast a soft glow, but nothing could soften what was coming. I talked to Lila, I said. Vanessa stiffened. Her eyes narrowed just a touch, the way people do when they know they've been caught but haven't decided how to spin it yet. She told me what you said to her, I continued. That she wasn't welcome. Vanessa sighed, slow and measured. I didn't say she wasn't welcome. I said it might be uncomfortable. For everyone. Uncomfortable, I repeated, as if the word might make more sense the second time. She's your ex's daughter, she said. It's complicated. And this day was supposed to be about us. About moving forward. Starting clean. I stared at her. Really stared. And for the first time, I realized I didn't fully recognize the person looking back at me. You knew how important she was to me, I said. You knew. And you didn't just decide to keep her away, you told her I agreed. Her voice went cold then. I was protecting us. No, I said, shaking my head. You were protecting your version of us. The one where you didn't have to deal with the past. But Lila isn't the past, she's my daughter. She folded her arms. She's never liked me. She makes everything harder. She's a teenager, I snapped. And you're the adult who just broke her heart. Vanessa looked away, jaw tightening. I didn't want drama, she muttered. You created it the second you made that phone call without telling me. There was a pause. Then she looked back at me, voice low and sharp. You had to choose, Adam. I just made it easier for you. That was it. Right there. The mask slipped. And I saw what she really believed, that love was a line you drew in the sand, and family had to pick a side. But I wasn't choosing between my wife and my child. Because no decent man would ever let himself be asked to. I didn't say another word. I walked back into the venue, past the photographers, past the guests sipping cocktails and waiting for the bouquet toss, straight to the table where I left my phone. I picked it up. Called a car. Vanessa came in a minute later, heels clacking like gunfire on tile. Where are you going? I'm going to my daughter. She blinked. You're leaving the wedding. I left it the second you made her feel like she didn't belong. She scoffed, almost laughed. Over one day? No, I said. Over what that day revealed. And with that, I walked out. Not because I was trying to make a scene. But because some choices you don't walk back from. And some people, no matter how beautiful the dress or the promises, don't get to call themselves family when they've just torn yours apart. The car ride to my ex-wife's house was silent. No music. No small talk from the driver. Just me, still in a tux, staring out the window at a world that didn't know it had just shifted. The sky was turning that deep evening blue, the kind that comes after a day pretending to be perfect. Streetlights flickered on. Sprinklers clicked in half-synchronized rhythms across manicured lawns. And all I could think about was a kid sitting behind a closed door, thinking her father had chosen a woman who didn't want her there. By the time we pulled into Rachel's driveway, my nerves had caught up with me. My hand hesitated at the car door handle. I didn't know what I was walking into. Lila might not want to see me. She might think I was too late. But that's the thing about being a parent, you show up anyway. I knocked. Rachel answered, still in the same dress from the wedding, hair pinned back, but her eyes said everything. She didn't gloat. Didn't say, I told you so. She just stepped aside and said, she's in her room. I walked down that hallway slower than I meant to. My shoes still polished, my jacket still buttoned, like I'd just stepped out of a Hallmark movie gone sideways. I knocked on her door. No answer. Lila, I said softly. It's me. I heard shuffling. A pause. Then the door opened. She stood there in a hoodie, no makeup, hair pulled back, face puffy from crying. But she didn't flinch. Didn't hide. She just looked at me like she didn't know what to believe. I left, I said. Her eyebrows furrowed. I walked out. From the wedding. Why? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Because someone made you think you weren't part of my life anymore. And I let it go on long enough. Tears welled in her eyes again, and her chin trembled. She said you agreed. I stepped forward, gently, like I was asking permission to be in her world again. I didn't. I never would've. And I should have known something was off when you weren't there. That's on me. But I'm here now. She broke then, shoulders shaking, head buried against my chest as I wrapped her up in a hug that should have happened hours earlier. I thought you picked her, she sobbed. I thought I had more time, I whispered. To fix things. To blend lives. To help you feel safe with her. But Lila, if it comes down to choosing between someone who needs me to erase you and someone who is you, it's not even a choice. We stood there for a long time. No need for more words. Just quiet forgiveness, exchanged in breaths and heartbeats. Eventually, she pulled back. Wiped her face. I hope the cake was terrible, she muttered. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time all day. It was. Dry as sand. You dodged a disaster. She managed a small smile. It was all I needed. Rachel walked me to the door after. Still no smugness. Just a look I'd seen before, when she used to believe in the man she married. You did the right thing, she said softly. I nodded. I'm starting to learn what that actually means. That night, I didn't go back to the venue. I didn't answer Vanessa's texts. I didn't check social media to see what stories were already being spun. I just stayed with Lila. Made her tea. Let her pick the movie. Fell asleep on the couch with a blanket that smelled like cinnamon and something older, something real. Because for the first time in a long time, I felt like a father again. Not a man stuck between two worlds. Not a groom. Just her dad. Exactly where I needed to be. The next morning, I woke up with a kink in my neck and Lila's cat staring at me from the arm of the couch like I'd stolen its spot. I rubbed my eyes, sat up slowly, and listened. The house was quiet. Peaceful. Rachel had already left for work. Lila was asleep, or pretending to be. I didn't mind either way. I made coffee, checked my phone. 7 missed calls. 4 from Vanessa. 3 from her sister. All unanswered. I opened the messages. Vanessa's first text read. Where are you? This is embarrassing. Then. We need to talk. There's still time to fix this. And finally, the last one, hours later. You just walked away from everything. Think about what you're doing. I sat with that one a little longer. Because that line. Think about what you're doing. I had. All night, in fact. And I wasn't just walking away from a wedding. I was walking away from the version of myself that tolerated disrespect dressed as compromise. By mid-morning, I sent her one message back. There's nothing to fix. You made a decision. I finally made mine. We're done. That was it. No ceremony. No second round. No, we can talk when things cool down. Because when someone looks your child in the eye and says, you don't belong, you don't try to cool off. You just walk. About an hour later, Joe, my best man, called. I picked up this time. He didn't say, I told you so. Didn't ask what went down. He just said, you alright? And for the first time in what felt like months, I said it and meant it. Yeah. I am. He chuckled. Well, the cake was trash. Everyone dipped early. Your cousin tried to DJ. It was chaos. I smiled. Glad I missed it. You and me both. That afternoon, I took Lila out for lunch. Just the two of us. We didn't talk about Vanessa. We didn't need to. She ordered fries and a milkshake and asked if we could start watching Breaking Bad together even though her mom said it was a little intense. I told her we'd give it a try, with permission, of course. She rolled her eyes. Dad. I'm 15. Not 5. I know, I said. But sometimes I wish you were 5 again. I might have done better by you back then. She looked at me, serious now. You showed up when it mattered. That stayed with me. Because we all stumble. We all miss signs. But when the fork in the road shows up, when the cost of love is someone you'd give your life for, you don't double down on the wrong path just because the chairs are filled and the photos are pretty. You turn around. Later that week, Vanessa's sister reached out again. Told me I'd blindsided the family, that I humiliated her sister. I responded once, simply. Her sister humiliated herself. I just stopped protecting the version of her you all liked better. After that, I blocked the number. I didn't need to be pulled back into that orbit. Because the truth was, I didn't walk out of a wedding. I walked into a life where the people I loved knew, really knew, that I had their back. And that meant more than any ring or reception ever could. It's funny what the world looks like after a storm passes. No dramatic music. No applause. Just daylight and clarity. And sometimes, that's enough. In the weeks that followed the wedding that wasn't, life slowed down. Not in the depressing way people expect after a split, but in a way that made me notice things I hadn't in a long time. Like how Lila always orders her fries extra crispy and steals mine anyway. Or how her eyes narrow when she's pretending not to smile. Or how Rachel, God bless her, never once brought up the wedding again. No jabs. No smirks. Just a quiet understanding that we'd both grown since our own story ended. Lila and I fell into a rhythm. Weekends. Movie nights. Long drives. She started texting more often, sometimes just memes, sometimes little life updates. I never pressed. I let her offer pieces of her world when she was ready. One Saturday, she asked if I wanted to come to her school play. She was in the tech crew, not on stage, said she liked being the brain, not the face. I showed up early. Sat in the front row. Clapped harder than anyone when the curtain closed. Afterward, she found me outside. You didn't have to come so early, she said. I smiled. I didn't want to miss your name in the program. She handed me her hoodie and said, "You're embarrassing." But she was smiling when she said it. Later that night, we got ice cream. Sat on a bench under string lights outside a little mom-and-pop spot, sharing a sundae that was too big for either of us. She turned to me, serious this time. Do you ever regret walking out? I knew what she meant. Not just the wedding. The whole picture. The detour. The what if. I thought about it for a second. Then I said. I regret not seeing it sooner. But walking out? No. That's the best thing I've done in a long time. She nodded. Didn't say anything. Just stuck another spoonful of whipped cream in her mouth and leaned against my shoulder. There was no parade. No medal for choosing my child over a woman who thought love was conditional. But sitting there, under soft lights, next to the person I nearly lost, I realized. I didn't miss out on a marriage. I avoided a mistake. I didn't lose a future. I reclaimed one. People still ask, sometimes, if I'm seeing anyone new. And I smile. Because the truth is, I'm still in the process of showing up for someone I love, every day, without exception, without conditions. My daughter. The one person who never asked me to be anything but there. And that's the kind of love no wedding could have topped anyway.